Hello, everybody. This is a book that I've written. My name is Una Clarke, the name I write under. My actual name is Una Berglund.
So, what inspired you to write Land of the Rippling Gold?
When I had my first grandchild, a boy, I decided to write about my childhood because it was so vastly different from his. I wanted him to know what it was like in those days.
And what year were you born in?
1926?
And the book, is it based on your childhood?
Yes, it is actually true in most parts what actually happened in my childhood.
So you lived in a town called Tullibigeal in western New South Wales, out near West Wyalong. When did you start living there, and for how long did you live in this little town?
I started living there when I was born in Lake Jellicoe, which is about 40 kilometres from Tullibigeal, which was a fair way in those days.
So your house, was it actually in the town, or did you live outside the town?
No, it was actually in the town, about what you would call 2 blocks away from the main street. The main street consisted of half a dozen shops, a couple of houses, and a hotel.
And what
Wasn't much of it.
And what kind of shops were in the town?
There was a shop that sold all groceries, two butcher shops, um, a chemist shop, a restaurant, post office, and a lolly shop. That's about it.
And your father had a shop in town as well, didn't he?
Well, it was not actually a shop. It was a big like garage, which had a little office in the corner of it. That's where he did all his business. But in the large part of it, he kept all sorts of things that the farmers bought, such as wheat bags, ploughshares, um, all sorts of things that they would come in and buy from him.
And did he sell feed like wheat for chickens and things like that?
No, not really. If you wanted that, you'd go out and get it out to the farms and get it. But he bought the wheat for the big firms in Sydney, and he got a commission for everything that he bought. And he also bought sheep and
So,
had them, yeah, put in trains and taken to Sydney.
and did he sell the wool clip for the farmers as well?
Yes, yes, he would have had to do that.
So, thinking about what it was like to live in a house without electricity in the late 1930s, for example, how did you stop meat from going off? We're so used to using fridges. What did you use instead of a fridge?
We had an ice chest. We used to have to go down to the shop and buy a big lump of ice, big square of ice, and take it home and put it in the top of the ice chest where it slowly melted and then dripped down the back of the ice chest and kept whatever it was in it cool.
So, how long would, say, a leg of lamb or something last in the meat safe?
In the ice chest,
In the ice chest, yeah.
probably for a day or so, but mostly it didn't leave it there in too long, particularly in the hot weather, because the ice melted so quickly.
So there was another gadget that you used called a meat safe. What were they like?
They were just like a cage, really, only made of very small holes in the side of the tin, and they used to hang them in a cool place.
So, without any electricity, were you able to listen to a radio at all?
Yes, because we had big batteries like car batteries, but we couldn't listen to it for very long because the batteries ran down pretty quickly.
Do you remember any of the things you particularly liked to listen to on the radio?
Oh, there was Dad and Dave and Martin's Corner, and a playhouse on a Sunday night.
And did you get newspapers very often?
Yes, I think there was a paper nearly every day. Dad used to bring home.
And for entertainment, did you like reading books? Do you remember any of the books that you liked to read from those times?
Yes, I read everything I could lay hands on in the school libraries because they didn't have a great deal of books there. And things like Anne of Green Gables and Bib and Bub, and the one with I got for Christmas one year with the koalas in it. That was a nice one.
Blinky Bill.
Blinky Bill, that's it, yes.
And what about Snuggle Pot and Cuddle Pie?
Yes,
Did you
Snuggle
read
Pot
that
and
one?
Cuddle Pie. My sister got that one.
And in the book there's a swaggy called Mr. Mitchell. Did he actually exist, or is he a made-up character?
He was a made-up character, but he was typical of the tramps, we used to call them in those days, typical of the ones that used to go past through the town.
And so, did you see many swaggies or tramps in those days?
Oh, not that many. Actually, when I come to think about it, Mr. Mitchell did exist because of his dog. Remember his dog in the
Peg.
Peg?
Yes.
Yes, that's right. He did exist.
And was it true that he died in Tullibigeal then, when in the hospital in Sister Nola's hospital?
Yes.
Mm. And that was one of your thinking about what you used to do um, to earn pocket money. Was there something to do with the hospital that you did to earn pocket money?
Oh, yes. I used to go and make up the trays for the patients, and go messages for the patients, go down the street and get anything that they wanted, or what Sister Nola wanted.
Thinking about Mr. Keller, who's quite an interesting character in the book. He's not a character that many people would like. Is he based on a real teacher that you used to know?
Yes, yes, he was.
And what was it like being at school in those days? Was he the only teacher there, and how many students were at the school?
We had two rooms, one for primary school and one for the younger ones, the high school part. And we had two teachers, one for the primary and one for the from fifth class up to ninth class.
And what was a typical kind of a day for you? Did you do something the same every morning, and did you have many breaks in the day?
No, we had the usual, like playtime at 11 o'clock and dinner. Came out at 3:30, but we went home and had lunch because we were only about 2 blocks from the school.
And so, what kind of subjects did you study while you were at Tullibigeal Public School?
Maths and English, history, geography. Um, that was that. They were the main ones. We didn't have cooking or things that you had in the other big schools, and learning on the typewriter. We didn't have any of those.
And what about what did you do for sport? Do they play sport very often?
Yes, we had something like baseball, and it was called rounders, and and skipping and scotch and that sort of thing. Playing marbles, we used to like playing with marbles.
So, thinking now about your mum, she's a character in the book that seems quite desperate to get away from the place that she lives in. Can you remember what were the sorts of things she had to do which made her life difficult, which were very tiresome that she had to do every day?
Well, the washing and ironing were very difficult for her because the the washing she had to do in a copper and and hang it out on the line, and very often there'd be dust storms and things like that, and she'd have to wash it all again.
So the copper, how was that heated?
You had a lot of fire under it.
Oh, and that relates to one of the stories in it where your mum, the laundry is set on fire by Wendy's younger brother,
David.
David, and Edie has to rush in and get the kerosene before it
Yes,
explodes. So was that a true
that was
story?
true. Yes, yes,
So
she did do that because if the if the laundry had gone up, we called it a wash house. If the wash house had got on fire, we would most likely have lost house as well, even though that wash house was apart from the house.
so that was a time when perhaps in summer was it where things were very dry.
Yes, yes, of course.
Mm. And did David get into a lot of trouble
Uh,
for doing that?
Very likely, but David was very clever at getting out of trouble because he was such a likable little boy.
Mm. Is there any thing that you'd like to add? Tell readers of your book to think about when they're reading, or anything you'd like to say to your readers.
Yes, we were happy with what we had because there wasn't much of it. But when we did get a present, which was birthdays and Christmas only, we never got anything else during the year because parents couldn't afford it. But when we did get it, we were very happy with it. And clothing, you had one good dress for best, and you wore that to everything that you went to that was you needed to wear your best dress to. And I think I had two tunics for school, navy tunics, and it was a very happy day when you got something new. We just had to make do with what we had during the Depression years. Sometimes we got clothes given to us from relatives that were a bit better off than us, hand me down, as you call it these days.
So that was probably why you were so excited for the movies coming to town in the first chapter. So
Yes.
everyone, what were you particularly hoping to see when the movies came to town?
Well, we're hoping to see the ones that we'd heard about, the cowboys and the cartoons, and we always had a cartoon with every picture. But the exciting thing was having the matinees, because the other pictures didn't start until late because of the, particularly in the summertime, might not start till 9 o'clock till farmers got there, and it was difficult to keep awake when we were little kids. So it was great to have the matinees on a Saturday afternoon.
So it was just once a week that the movies
Oh,
were
yes,
on?
once a week.
And was it in what kind of a place were the movies in? Was it in a hall?
Big old hall, not very comfortable chairs, but as kids, that didn't worry us. Just enjoyed going.
So do you look back on your childhood with fond memories overall?
Yes, we were happy enough with what you don't have, you don't miss. And but if today's kids were to be put in the same situation, I think they'd be most unhappy. They would consider themselves to be extremely poor. We didn't think of ourselves as being poor. When we did get some money, we really treasured it.
So we won't spoil the ending of the book, but at some stage the family moved to a large country town. And how did that affect people? How did people feel in the family moving to suddenly a place with hundreds of more people, shops, and probably cinemas on every night?
Well, we still only went to the pictures on matinees of Saturday afternoons. But the greatest thing was being able to switch on a light.
Mm.
We thought that was absolutely magical, because we'd only ever had lamps and candles. Went to bed with candles. Had to be very careful that you didn't get light the let the place alight and burn down.
Well, thank you for talking today, and we hope that readers of your book enjoy this video as much as we have making it.
Thank you. Bye.